Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. Hello, Lara.
Hello.
Hello, Zoe.
Hello.
Today we're going to talk about practical skills. Practical skills that you might think about when considering what recovery means for you. And it doesn't necessarily have to be recovery. And we've talked about that before. Different people want and need different things. So it may be the practical skills that are helping you with recovery, or it may be the practical skills that are helping with practicing harm reduction. So just in a nutshell, practical skills, what I mean by that is it's our ability to, have hands-on tasks or to have crucial things in place that are helping us with our wellness. So it might be, your awareness of what you need in order to take care of yourself and work with some of your recovery or harm reduction goals, or it might be the things that you have in place that are helping you get there. So I think about things like what it means to have hope or a vision for what you're doing. For some people, it's about team, it's about who are your supports. For some people, it's about relationships that are in place that help them and give them purpose and meaning. Sometimes it's a plan.
So, the first thing I think of, let's talk about recovery right now. I mean, Zoe, you don't even sometimes consider yourself to be in recovery, but
Well,
you got a lot of
I
practical skills that you
I
employ.
wouldn't say that I wouldn't say that I don't consider myself in recovery. I mean, sometimes I just forget. I guess I don't know because technically it hasn't been that long. We're in like year two, right? So I just feel like my life at this point isn't revolved around recovery. So I'm in recovery, but it's not revolving around that. There's so much more to my life at this point that it's kind of like it's on the back burner almost. Not that it's any less important, it's just that I'm not practicing recovery how I once was. I feel very out of touch with that side of things. I just feel like I almost feel normal in a certain way, I guess. Like, I mean, what is normal, right? But like, I feel like the first year after getting sober, I feel like every single day, every minute of the day, every morning I woke up, it was on my mind. There was something in that day that I was practicing my recovery, right? And now it's not like that. It feels very far away from me. Like it's not hard anymore, right? Like I wake up and I don't think about it. Sometimes I forget to take my methadone because I don't think about it. So then by the time 7, 8 o'clock comes at night, I'm like, shit, that's kind of why I feel a little bit funky,
8 o'clock
because I'll
at
just
night.
forget. Yeah, I did it the other day and I was
Wow.
like, that's why I feel a bit funky. Shit, just because it's not on the top of my list anymore. Whereas before, everything I did in my life revolved around practicing my recovery, right? So it was ongoing, like everything, like, just reciting, you know, um, daily good affirmations to keep myself strong and stuff like that. And now it's there, of course it's good to see your daily affirmations and everything, but it's not like it almost feel like that hard time that I had to go over, I kind of finally ended up on the other side of it. So it's just now more easy, it's not so time consuming. It's just every day is, a new day and I'm more comfortable, right? I'm not as, I guess, uncomfortable. It's just I don't think about it as much as I used to. It kind of just seems very far away. That's the only way I can describe it.
It almost sounds like a strategy that you employed.
Yeah. Yeah, in a sense, I guess so. Yeah. Hmm. Never looked at it like that before.
You look happy.
It's just, I am. I'm very happy. And like everybody's like, "Oh, it only gets harder." No. No, it doesn't. Like it every day that you stay sober, and once you get over that big hump of like just actually getting your life back and actually like having your past be further and further away from you, how you are today, like it does get a lot easier because you settle back into your normal, your routine, right? So your routine doesn't consist of getting drugs, using drugs, buying drugs, getting your next hit, whatever the case is, your normal now becomes what you want it to be without that side of things, right?
That
So
is so
you're not
powerful.
revolving around drug use anymore.
That is so powerful to hear you say that. You're basically declaring life is good. Life is good.
Yeah, life is very good right now. Even with all the stressors,
Yeah. Yeah,
what's the
I get
famous
it.
line I always said? I'd take all the bad that happens to me now, like
Uh,
real life shit. I would take this over who I was a couple of years ago any freaking day. Any day. I don't regret getting sober. Getting sober was the best thing I could have ever done for myself and for my kids.
You talk about, and I've certainly heard a lot of people talk about concern or worry that it won't be better, right? Like that idea that can it be better? Can I be okay? And so to hear you say, people said it'll just get harder, and you're like, no, it hasn't. Like what if anything supported you? Like,
Um, I think the hardest part about getting sober was the physical part of things. Once I wasn't physically sick and I was able to wake up and, maybe not mentally completely be okay, but to the point where I wasn't physically sick or hurting, that was so powerful to me because I was like, wow, like I'm over that first hump. Like I never want to be in a situation where I have something control the way I feel and there's nothing that I can do to stop it. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't ever want to be that. I finally got here to where I'm not dependent on these things. I actually feel good waking up in the morning. I will never put myself back in a position that I ever have to feel like that again. Because if I do that, I'm literally starting all over again. Because all it takes is that one time and you're sucked right back in.
how long do you feel like it took for your physical recovery?
I'd say about 10, 11 months. Like I wasn't sick, but I still felt like that no energy. Like it's almost like I can be active and go out and do things without a substance making me want to get up and do things, right? So even though I wasn't in physical pain over it, it took a lot of training, like physical training, to feel better. Mentally, I'm still dealing with, certain things, not the thought of using or anything like that, but like I'm still learning how to, for instance, deal with teenagers, right? I'm still learning how to do that. I'm still learning how to, you know, like arrange my thoughts properly so that, I don't lash out over certain things. I'm still learning, right? And, part of me doesn't even think that that has much to do with drugs, all in all. I think that's just anybody and everybody because you learn as you go. And I'm still young. I'm only 30 and I have two teenagers. So I'm learning, right? I'm learning what it's like to not be an active user. I'm learning what it's like to parent teenagers. I'm learning what it's like to, be on my own once again. So I'm still learning, but physically, yeah, I would say about 11 months it took me to actually wake up and be like, okay, I'm over that hump. I'm okay. Finally, like I feel good, right? And I mean everybody is different, some people people I've spoken to, and they're like, oh, 6 weeks, I was fine. And I'm like, oh, that's great. Took me about 11 months, but I would not regret any of it. Like, and that even thinking about ever feeling that way again is honestly enough for me to never pick up another straw or a piece of tin foil, or you know what I'm saying? Like that alone, like, my family, of course, is my biggest motivation, of course. But that sick feeling is something I never want to feel again. Like that is, on the top of my list. It's a horrible feeling. And to ever put myself in that position again, like, God, I don't know. I would have to be really, really like, you know, something would have to be really, really fucked up, I think. There's no way that I would put myself through it again, or my family.
You
It's
know,
interesting to hear you talk about that sick feeling. Um, because there was a time when, like now you're reflecting back with some new insights, right? And you're reflecting back with where you're at today. Back then, that sick feeling and that cycle of being caught up in that sick feeling was something that there wasn't a lot of insight around.
Right.
So it's not that I want to take us back to that. It's not about that. But I do think about, folks that are listening that might be thinking, like they're hearing you say, it is better. It doesn't necessarily have to be more difficult later. There is a physical
Mhm.
portion, and that piece is different for everyone. But like, what would you say to somebody who is kind of thinking about taking that step of, starting this process, right? Knowing that, you're going to feel like crap, and maybe you already are. Um, but what would you say to somebody who's thinking about taking that step?
Just keep going. Just get through it. Because once you get through it, you'll forever be grateful to yourself for getting through something like that. And it's worth it. It's so worth it. Honestly, I can't even imagine still being in the shoes I was in 2 years ago, because that was a miserable life. That wasn't life at all. That that was something that I don't wish on my worst enemy, right? Like,
so let me ask you, when you say you keep going and you got the end in mind, that end for you right now,
sorry, my teenager, I'm gonna punch her in the face.
what
Yeah.
is that exactly? How is your finances? How are your emotions? How are you physically? How is your family? How are your children?
Okay, so children, they're great. They're awesome. I love my children, even though I want to punch them in the face. They're great kids. Physically, I'm great. I'm overweight. I'm fat. I'm a foodie. I love food. I eat. And I am not at all the slightest bit embarrassed of that. I feel great emotionally and mentally. I'm honestly, I'm good. I'm happy. I'm sober and I'm happy, and I love life. I haven't loved life in a very long time, and I absolutely love life right now. There's things that obviously there's always room for improvement with school and, just learning how to be a better person all in all, but I love my life. My advice to, people going through it is just keep going through it, because, as hard as it may feel, as shitty as it may feel, you will get there, and it is possible. And you will be so fucking proud of yourself at the end of it, because you won't feel horrible. You won't be in the same mind state. You will be so proud of yourself. Take it one day at a time. Keep getting those days behind you. You know what I'm saying? 1, 2, 3, 4, like let them keep piling, because you will get there. It's possible. Like, I'm living proof. I was literally a fentanyl addict in the midst of it all. And I have a home. I have my kids. I have my family. I'm going back to school, you know. It's fucking possible. And I consider myself to be one of the lucky ones because a lot of the people, that were using with me, they're not alive today. And by God's grace, I'm still here. And I just feel like, if I was able to get through it, then there's a lot of other people that can get through it too. And just don't waste it, right? Get your shit together, get your life back, claim your body and your mind back and do something with it, do something that's worth it.
And before I lose it, there's something else you brought up, and that is that right now you're learning still about your
Yeah.
teenagers. You're doing a lot of learning. And
Even about myself.
yeah, and that learning, you're in it right now. And Laura talks about this a lot. You take all the time you've been using and you apply this non-growth formula to it because you stop growing, right? And then when you stop using, you got
Oh
some
yeah,
catch up to
definitely.
do with just the idea
Yeah.
of living. That could be daunting, don't you think?
I mean, it's scary because it's almost like you're pressing a reset button, right? So it's not like, oh, I'm gonna pick up where I left off. Like, no, you need to rebuild. You need to rebuild yourself. You need to rebuild your relationships, right? So of course that can be daunting. That could be scary as hell. It was scary as hell, right? Like I had to do it in sections. Like I had to, you know, fix certain relationships. I couldn't fix all my relationships all at once. So I had to do them in sections, right? So just my advice for that, it may seem scary because like I said, you got to rebuild. You can't just pick up where you left off. So my advice to that would just be get a pen, get a paper, write out your list, right? And the top of your list is what, like, you'll automatically feel it. What's the most important thing that I need to fix right now? Something is going to come to your mind at that point, right? You're going to know off the top of your head what the most important thing is that you have to work on first, or the most important relationship that you need to fix first. And that's where you start. Don't overwhelm yourself with trying to get everything done all at once. That time will come for each one of those things to be resolved or each one of those relationships to be fixed. But do not overwhelm yourself. Take a pen, take a paper, and it will come to you. And just go down the line of the most important thing, the second most important thing, the third thing, and you will finish off your list. You will be able to check every single thing off of that list if you just separate them.
Okay, I'm going to summarize some of what we heard you say today because, of course, our theme today is practical skills. And you've shared so much more than that, Zoe. I think the takeaways, what we're hearing from you is there's a lot of small steps. And
Yeah.
it kind of begins with knowing that physical pain is temporary, knowing that a terrible situation isn't permanent, doesn't have to be that way. It can be temporary. And the small steps, you keep going back to small steps. And as you talk about, what it means to take one step at a time, there's hope that this is going to work. There's focus. But there's also this piece of like embracing your own learning and embracing rebuilding. I think you're describing trusting this process. From where you are today, you look back and these are the pieces, right, that become the practical skills.
The small steps are very, very, very important. And like I said, just don't don't be intimidated by it because you will be so proud of yourself once you start crossing all your T's and dotting all your I's and everything like that. It's so worth it. It's so rewarding, honestly. It's so rewarding to feel and to understand, where I came from and to see myself now. It's the most rewarding thing I think I've ever felt in my life.